And so you can imagine when somebody's going to a restaurant and they're just getting that plate of food in front of them, their saliva is starting then. So imagine the digestive process starts a lot earlier if you cook your own food, if you source your own food. So Ayurveda, from a science standpoint, it's no longer about you are what you eat, it's you are what you digest, all right? And it's digesting emotions, it's digesting toxic relationships. There's so much we hold on to with digestion.
I think I know you better. Oh, if I knew your recipe. How much love do you put in the bowl when you cook from the soul, trying to feed your family? And do you have hand-me-down treasures from grandma's handwritten letters? You know, the ones with the measurements. And do you have a lot of fun and laugh while you're prepping it? What'd you have for dinner last night? For your daughters and your dinner last night.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Dinner Last Night. We have got a seriously sparkly, funny, joyful guest on today's show. Today's guest is Nandini Austin, who's an Ayurvedic wellness coach and retreat leader, among many other things. She was born in London to parents from Mauritius and was immersed from an early age in ancient wisdom, studying Vedic philosophy and Ayurveda under the guidance of her father, a renowned Hindu priest, while also performing traditional Indian dance on London stages. And her love of wholesome, flavorful food, as you'll hear more about, was really shaped by summers on the paradise island of Mauritius and by her grandmother, who lived an Ayurvedic lifestyle to the age of 96. And at the same time, Nandini was very much a child of the modern world. And this duality of tradition and culture and contemporary culture informs her approach to Ayurveda and dance, which is both deeply rooted and vibrantly alive. Nandini spent 2 decades working in global hospitality, specifically in luxury boutique hotels, which taught her that true luxury is the warmth of making everyone feel welcome, which I love. Me too. Her career eventually took her to New York City, where she met her husband Yusuf and founded Cocktail Architect, a company that curated experiential events and has since evolved into a line of spice-infused syrups. Nandini and Yusuf moved to the Hudson Valley to be closer to nature, where they're raising 2 boys, and Nandini now runs Ayurvedic cooking and dance classes and retreats, and her whole vibe is about crafting joyful, deeply embodied experiences that anyone can tap into. This episode is really helpful for parents, especially to just find that joy and fun, and her energy is contagious. You're going to love this episode, so tune in and then cue up Nandini's playlist, linked in the show notes, and dance your tushies off. Woo! Welcome, Nandini. We're so excited to have you on Dinner Last Night.
It's so good to be here. Thank you, ladies. I'm super excited to be here with you both.
Thrilled to have you. So tell us, what did you have for dinner last night?
Oh my God, where to start? Chicken curry. It's a Mauritian chicken curry. It's just so yummy and delicious. And, you know, I'm from Mauritius, so it's so easy for me to put it together with my eyes closed. And it's a nourishing, warming dish, especially on a cold evening. And I don't know if you guys like chicken curry. This is slightly different chicken curry. Do you guys cook curry ever?
Love curry. I just had some tofu curry that I had made for lunch, but I want to hear so much more about your background and being Mauritius and what that looks like and what a Mauritian curry is.
Yeah.
I feel so envious that it's like a recipe in your back pocket, because anytime I make a curry, it feels like a big challenge.
Well, you know, it's really like a big pot. I like to say it's like I'm a good witch. I've got a big cauldron and you're just banging in lots of spices, really. So I really like to demystify it, because people always think that curry is a really hard thing to do. Just pop things into a pot, really. And as long as you do it in the right order, it's like being artful and fun and creative with your cooking. You know what I mean? It shouldn't feel like, oh my God, I'm doing it wrong. Or like when you follow a recipe, I feel like sometimes they can get so convoluted. Whereas this curry, it's a Mauritian curry, first of all. So I should say that it differs because Mauritius is a melting pot and it's got a lot of French influence. It's got thyme in it, which is quite unusual. It's got things like curry leaves, and it's all about the curry powder. You have to have the best curry powder that you can find. And honestly, I get it from my mum. So she does send me, a packet of mum's curry powder that saves the day.
You're the second guest that we've interviewed who has a mom who's the black market.
Exactly. on the down low.
Yeah, exactly. Secret source of high quality spices. Is it her blend of curry powder that she
I
sends
wish it
you?
was her blend. It's really not, but she gets it from, there's this like, and I've seen it in Mauritius. It's like a room of chachis, which are like aunties, and they're all sitting there doing their little like, putting it together in these exact quantities, because really it's about 7 different spices, and I have made my own on my site. I have recipes that you can make your own blend, but this particular one, that is sourced from Mauritius, from these old chachis, grandmothers. So she sends it over, and it's a great way for digestion because it's got so many nourishing spices and herbs. And if you saw my kitchen, in fact, I should have been doing this from my kitchen. Maybe next time I will. But I've got jars and rows of spices, rows and rows of it, because I really feel like with Ayurveda, as we're probably going to talk a little bit about that, the spices are so good for digestion. They're so good for warming. There's just so many. It's almost like having a spice cabinet, in your kitchen. So that's what I had for dinner. We had it with paratha, which are like to mop up all the juicy goodness. You know what I mean?
Do you make it?
I don't make those. I don't make those.
Where do you get them?
So where I get them from, and my secret is Albany is fabulous. So I actually go up to Albany quite a bit, and there is I call it like my little spice tour, but there is a great Asian supermarket and a great Indian supermarket. And so the Indian supermarket is where I tend to get it from. And then I'll go
next time you go, I want to come with you.
Oh my God, I do take orders.
Let's do it. I just want to go with you.
I'll take you. It's like, forget going to Jackson Heights in Manhattan. Sorry. Or VB and Sons or any of those places. Because you go up to Albany and there's no lines, super clean. And it's just, everything is there. And I like exploring. I lived in Manhattan for so long. I lived in Brooklyn. It's like, let's go to Albany. And it's a little secret place over there. When you're cooking a curry, in Ayurveda, we talk about the senses, and it's all about all the smells wafting up your nostrils, and then the sounds you're hearing, like, when my kids are there, I get them to stand with me at the stove. And like my youngest, who is 5, he stands on his stool and he'll like throw in the curry leaves, throw in the mustard leaves, and we hear them pop. And then we throw in the salt, and then we, brown the cumin seeds. And so I really involve them a lot in the process, because I want them to understand about, first of all, how to make this yummy dish. But then for them, it's just fun, right? It's just being creative. And he does sort of, I actually say, you're like a little wizard. Look, come on, let's make this thing. And then we do it together. So I was just going to say it's a family affair when we cook the curry.
Can I share what your kids' names are?
Oh, please do.
Or you tell everyone.
Listen, my husband's name's Yusuf and my name's Nandini. So we all already out of the bat have very freakish names. And so we couldn't have like just normal names. It just wouldn't have worked. So much to my parents' dismay, I must say, I picked words that described us. So the first kid, Revel, is for revel in the moment, because listen, we like to make merry and have fun and celebrate life. That's really what we do in this house most every night. And so Revel, and his name's Revel Morrissey Austin, by the way. So Morrissey was Yusuf's choice. And then Zeal for Revel wanted to call Zeal Passion. But when I
love that.
Do you imagine a boy called Passion? We called him Zeal because he is full. He's so zealous, that child. He is just so full of zeal. He lives up to the name and some. So we definitely got more than we bargained for, having a baby at a later stage. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, I just wanted you to share the names because I just feel like it says so much about who you are and how you go through life, and really finding the joy and the fun and the self-expression and the passion and everything that you do, even in the way that you just described cooking with your children. So I hope that the listener can take some of that away. I just think it's such a beautiful thing.
Totally. Kids need to know from a young age about different foods, and like we expose them to everything growing up. And I'm so excited because my kids love oysters, they love all sorts of food. So I make it part of a ritual. Food connects people at the end of the day, right? It's such a gateway. It's not just about it's about sitting at the table together. And that ritual, like my parents made us do it. I don't know about you. Did you have my parents were like, 6 o'clock, you have to sit at the table. It doesn't matter if you'd eaten, which you hadn't anyway, but you had to be there, and it was a time to converse and to connect and to be a family, right? And so I think that is really, food connects people in so many ways, as does drink. But yeah, I'm sure you had rituals at your house, especially being twins. I can only imagine like the amount of mischief you must have got up to.
It was a little bit of a chaotic dinner experience, but we had the same expectation. We were all, until we were in high school when there were four of us and, four teenagers doing lots of different activities made it a little hard to always sit down together. But you mentioned drink as another way of bringing people together, which it does. And I want to just hear more about the Cocktail Architect, which was the company that you and Yusuf have founded. And really, I think one of the things that is so cool about the way that you approach, I mean, I know you're doing these syrups and drink in general, is just thinking about flavor and bringing in different types of flavor, non-traditional ingredients. So I'm curious to hear more about your experience with that and how you've sort of woven your love of culture and cooking into that process.
Great question. And Cocktail Architect is, such a joy. We started it from our tiny apartment in Brooklyn, and it started with pop-ups, actually, funny enough. So, just doing these pop-up sort of events, and I would do the food. I would do like Mauritian food and very like nourishing food, and then Yusuf would do the drinks, and he then went on to do all this mixology. And like for us, it was always about celebrating. It was opening people's minds, mouth, and palates to new spices, to, far-flung spices maybe that they hadn't tried, different concoctions, mixing them up. We like to transport you. During COVID is really where the syrups line began, because up until that point, hospitality and events and mixology were pretty quiet, right? But if you were actually in booze, I think you did well. And we pivoted very quickly, and we ended up doing these cocktail classes online. I'll fast forward the story. But what happened was, people wanted these boxes with these kits. And so we started making them and sending out these 3 little syrups, craft cocktail syrups, garnishes. And so you got this box, and it was more about like, getting this beautiful box, having the menu, and then having these very like chic looking little things to play with, right? And then as we did the class, I would do the food and story drink sort of telling and weaving. As you can tell, I like that very much. And then Yusuf would do more of the sort of explanation of the drinks. But afterwards, when we went to questions, everybody was like, where can we buy these? And so that's really, we got to like beta test these lovely craft cocktail syrups to hundreds of Fortune 500 companies. So it was really good, because we were like, oh, great, we don't really need to do any beta testing because we've got it right here. So again, the art of celebration, coming back to your question, that's really what the Cocktail Architect is about, and bringing these bold spices and flavors that people otherwise may not know about, like black cardamom and star anise is one of our top sellers right now. Earthy, warm, good on a night, with all the snow we've been having.
That sounds amazing. Cardamom is also one of my all-time favorite spices. So good. I want to try your cocktails right now.
So it's not actually the green one. So the black one is a little bit smokier, camphor, kind of that smokiness. So and they're both mocktail driven too. All of ours, even our drinks, our kids actually, we make, instead of giving them sodas and stuff, just need a little bit, just a little bit of the syrup. As you get older, anything that affects our sleep is not happening anymore.
No, oh my gosh. One drink and my night is destroyed. Going back to the curry leaves, do you use fresh curry and mustard leaves or dried?
So quickly, by the way, you can get them in sunflower here. I like to use them fresh, but I could never use them more fresh so quickly. So I use mostly dried, but if I'm in the mood, I'll put the fresh ones in. But I take the fresh ones and put them out to dry and then keep them in a jar without a lid on.
Because the few times that I've bought fresh curry leaves, I can't use them all quick enough. So it's good to know you can use them dry. For spices, where do you recommend people source, their spices? So I use a company called Burlap and Barrel. I'm curious if you know them or if you have other ones that you love, because spices are so important and they're not always fresh. They're not always ethically sourced.
Do you know what? I think go wherever you can get them. You know what I mean? And like, I know that brand. A friend of mine uses them. And, I tend to sort of go all over the place. There's not one place that I shop at. Like I do go to Albany to get them on, but I might go online. I have do you know the BFG in Roald Dahl?
Yes.
So just like he has jars of dreams, right? He has jars of dreams. I have jars, rows and rows and rows of spices. And so I always say to Yusuf, like, I'm such a foodie. Don't bring me flowers, bring me fries. And wherever I go, anywhere, I will go and pick up spice. So I love going, like, I went to Turkey recently. I bought lots of spices. Like whenever I travel, I do buy and stock up. So it might just be, I might be inspired on a trip, upstate somewhere, and I'll just find some spice there. So there's not one place I would go to. You know what I mean?
Hi, friends. Quick pause to say thank you so much for listening. It's really nice to know we're not just sitting here talking to ourselves. Though, to be fair, we'd probably be doing that anyways. Definitely. Season 2 is our love letter to the Hudson Valley, and we're thrilled to be sharing our guests' extraordinary stories and wisdom with you. Did you know that for each episode, we're also offering an exclusive giveaway that includes a gift from one of our guests or a copy of one of our own cookbooks? You don't want to miss these. And it's so easy to enter the giveaway. All you need to do is head to bit.ly DLN giveaway. That's DLN giveaway, all lowercase, and enter your email. The link's also in the show notes. All right, back to the episode. So let's go back to your childhood. You mentioned Mauritius, and I love Ayurveda. It's one of the areas of food and medicine that I've attempted to study as much as possible. And I'm so curious how you grew up infused in that culture and that lifestyle. And yeah, anything that you can share about what it's like to have that embedded in your upbringing.
It was a hoot in my family, man. We had 4 of us. And what was interesting, I spent a lot of time in London, growing up in London, which was so multicultural. Also, a lot of time for summers in Mauritius, my parents' homeland. So they came as immigrants, like in their early 20s. So when they came to England, my mother was very much like, retain the culture and cooked for us every day, a home cooked meal. What she didn't know is that my dad was a little bit naughty, and he was like, oh my God, London, 70s, convenience food, naughty foods. And just like, she's vegetarian, my mother, funny enough. And my dad mostly was vegetarian, but when he discovered things like seafood and all that, because Mauritius had a lot of seafood. And so they were both from these strict families. But when we came to England anyway, there was like a clash of like my mother cooking this really traditional yummy food, and then my father sort of giving us, like taking us to all sorts of places. We would go to places like Brixton Fish Market. And I remember coming back at the age of 5, going to our sink, and there was an octopus in the sink. And I was like, you know what I mean? I was so like, what the hell is this? And my father was so funny. He was like, well, look, let's cook it and prepare it together because, it's a big Mauritian delicacy. This was back in the day. Obviously now I know it's not so nice. I have seen that beautiful documentary. And so I don't eat octopus, but we're talking about the early 70s here. So my father would tell these tales of Mauritius, and then we'd go to Mauritius and we'd have like my grandmother. She lived an Ayurvedic lifestyle, and she lived till the age of 96. She had this long hair that she would, even at white, it would be up. And I used to think she was a magic witch because she would go in a garden, pluck out all these herbs and spices, throw them into a pan, and cook the most amazing vegetarian meals. She had chickens. She wouldn't even have a fridge. We tried to buy a fridge in the 80s, and she said no, because she just wanted to cook everything fresh. And what was the point? Because you just eat it. And we were like, yeah, it kind of doesn't work that way. But so all of these influences taught me so much about food, so much about the diversity of food. And my father, just to add on, he was a Hindu priest in his later years. So we would cook a lot of puja food in our house. And puja is food fit for the gods. And you guys would love it. Well, I know Dimity, I feel like we share a lot of similar love for food, but it's very like, it's mostly vegetarian. It's all vegetarian. And you served it on days that you were doing prayer. And in my house, there was a lot of prayer going on. There was a lot of dance going on, but it was always connecting people after those with this lovely, now I call it temple cuisine, like with these lovely tables full of like pumpkin with curry leaves, just sauteed. That might be a dish. Rugai, which would be like a spicy, it's got the African influence, spicy kind of bouillabaisse kind of chili peppers in there, that kind of tomato. Then you'd have like the raita, the yogurt, to cool down a little bit. Then you'd have like butterbean curries. You'd have just so much. It was just so yummy. It was so yummy. Honestly, most of us ate way too much in our house growing up.
I mean, how could you not when you're being
I was
that kind of food?
Kid. There we go. I was so totally an overweight kid growing up because there was just so much good food. And one of the reasons I came to Ayurveda was to balance and sort of reestablish my relationship with food, how I viewed food. Because, food in Ayurveda, and I know you know a little bit about it, but all food is considered a medicine. Food is not just for fueling. And I think, what's that adage? You live to eat or you eat to live. I think it's in France. I definitely do not, I live to eat, man. Like I'm always like, what's next? I just have breakfast. What are we having for dinner? What are we having for, it's always on my mind. I'm such a foodie. So as I'm sure you girls are, I know I've read a lot about both of you and seen your cookbooks and everything else. So I know that you're food lovers too.
Absolutely. So you mentioned dance. I would love to hear how dance was woven into your life. And we're coming to the point of understanding where this all comes together, right? You've got the cocktail architect and the food and the Ayurveda influence. And now you also lead dance workshops, and that's part of your offering. But how was that a part of your life growing up? And what style of dance did you learn?
Food was always part of my life, but dance was always there in the background. I feel it wasn't in the background, it was in the forefront. I mean, they were just my two passions, really. And from a young age, I would be on the school playground. I used to love Madonna. I was a big Madonna, like Holiday, all that time. Like I was a big girl of the 80s. So, dancing on the playground, recruiting friends to be part of my dance group, which was called Dream Girls. And we used to perform at the school end of Christmas stuff, and like we won competitions. And so even though quite a heavy overweight child, but loved dance, loved moving. And I also learned Indian classical dance because, again, my parents were very much into tradition and keeping us attached to our Indian roots, even though we didn't have any relatives in India. Learning, it was like, do you want to learn Hindi or do you want to do Indian semi-classical dance? And I was like, hello, we'll do the dance over here. So ended up performing at a young age, doing very, Kathak is very strict. It's a very strict kind of dance. It's expressive, but I would say the teachers were like, listen, you didn't want to mess with those teachers. So it was very discipline orientated. It was a very grounding sort of dance where you stamp your feet on the floor, you dance barefoot. So for somebody like me, it was good because it provided that sort of grounding, anchoring, because I was a bit woohoo, which you could probably tell I still am. But that dance was very grounding. And then when I went to Mauritius, we'd go to my grandmother's house, but we would also go to these 5-star hotels. And there was African Sega dance there. And I remember being like 5 or 6 and we were whisked. They were, Mauritius has these 5 to 7-star hotels. The food is off the charts. Like, back in the 70s, Mauritius was, it still is very much the elite. It's almost like what St. Bart's is to the US. It's like one of these, or St. Kitts, one of these lovely islands. But I witnessed these African women, we were ushered onto the beach, and at nighttime, they were dancing all this like rhythmic footwork out on the beach with ravans, which are like goat drums. They're made of goat skin. And they would use like almost like silverware to bang the tables, because this was the African slaves that needed a way to express and enjoy in times that were pretty difficult. And so watching these women and men perform, and it was very different because they were wearing, these long skirts, small tops, a lot of undulating and dancing and rhythm and African dance, which I was like, whoa, man, what is this? So I then went down the rabbit hole with that and started learning that dance. So I was kind of like a dance chameleon just growing up, just like, okay, what's this music? Well, I like this. Let me try that. And then I did Pineapple Studios salsa in London for 2 years. So, and then I went to the clubs and house music. My university was next to Ministry of Sound. So all of these different dance styles. And then when I went into hospitality, luxury hospitality, I traveled the world, luckily. So I was trying all this food and trying all these spices, visiting all of these markets, and then seeing all these different kinds of dance. Fast forward, when I moved upstate, even before then, I was feeling a little bit of a change in the direction. I was working very full-time in sort of hospitality and had a very big job. And when I had a kid, I was like, you know what? I feel like there's a Liam Gallagher song. It says, nature is calling. I was getting called to move upstate. I wanted to be, just a little bit more. I felt that the energy of Manhattan was a lot. So anyway, fast forward, we moved up here to the Hudson Valley. And, February's coming up, so it's really cold. But I got this idea. I was dancing around the house. And I was like, oh my God, I love dance. I'm sure there's other women dancing around the house. Half of them with a hairdryer, you know what I mean, in front of the mirror or the curling tongue. Do you do that, girls?
Totally.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know, Nandini, I was going to say that you tested your class with me and I got to go a couple of times and it's so fun. And I feel like the way that you approach dance as well, similarly to Ayurveda, which we'll talk more about, but as you've taken these more structured practices and really put your own joyous spin on it and really encouraging people to feel embodied in their movement and how they eat. And there's a definite theme. It's amazing.
No, thank you. And I'm so glad because you were very pivotal about helping me in that. Because I was like, I expressed I wanted to do it and somebody didn't show for a class. That's what happened, Emma. I went all the way to do a dance class in Rosendale. And I got my kids looked after and I was so excited to do this class. And the teacher said, oh, she's not here today. I'm so sorry, we can't do the class. And this voice went, I can do the class. And she was like, you can? I was like, yeah, I have a speaker. And so I led the class. And
was that at the library?
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that.
Up and did this dance class because I had been doing it around my house anyway. I had my own playlist. I'd kind of like in my head already had this going. And all the women afterwards like, where are you teaching? We want to come. And so that's how it started, So, and then I said, Dimity, look, I did it once. I think I want to do it more. And Dimity was so supportive. And
oh, well, you were so supportive of me as well. You also have made so many beautiful dancing videos, but I always just picture you sort of dancing under the moon or at sunrise. Emma here with another quick dance break. Okay. Anyway, if you're enjoying season 2, we'd love to stay in touch through our Substack newsletter. You can subscribe at the link in the show notes, easy peasy, or head to dinnerlastnightpod.com and subscribe to our newsletter from there. When you subscribe, you'll get one of my free monthly meal plans for stress-free, delicious dinners that your whole family will love. And trust me, I know, and so does Dim, because we've tested all these recipes on our kids. Let's head back to the episode now. Tell us more about, so I know that you just hosted this women's retreat called Temple Goddess, which I think draws connections to what you were saying about the way that the food, I wrote it down, puja food.
Yeah, puja
in your
food.
house and just this feeling of being a goddess and the way you dance and move your body. But you did this retreat at the Omega Institute and I wanted to hear more about it and what sort of came out of that for you and what you're offering to people.
Totally. It was such an honor to be invited to do the retreat there because it was somewhere that I had put on my list a few years ago. I want to do something there. It's just an amazing place. Temple Goddess came about because, I have this sort of ongoing, even battle with my own self, like honoring our bodies as these sacred temples that they are in this day and age. Because it was fine for the Ayurvedic rishis back 5,000 years ago that were sitting on mountains and they could do everything. But, we're living in such a fast moving, paced world that it's a struggle. And I, with my own self-care over the years, from being overweight and from like just witnessing family members being, having health issues or diabetes or whatever happened, it kind of all came to a culmination, all my experience with this Temple Goddess retreat, because it was really for women to come together to empower them to, as I said, like honor this body as a sacred vessel and do it through the mediums of dance and Ayurveda, my two favorite subjects in the world. So it was amazing. And what came out of it was, there was lots of dance, obviously, lots of ritual, lots of sharing, as I did it with them, I call it the 4Ds, the 4D program, which is really like the 4D consciousness program. But it starts with dosha. So knowing thy dosha, knowing thyself, which in Ayurveda is like, once you know your faults and your triggers, it's like this little trickster. It kind of pulls us out of balance. So knowing the right foods, knowing the right
Nandini, can you explain what a dosha is for people?
Dosha in Sanskrit, the word dosha means that which is at fault. Okay. So in Ayurveda, we have 3 doshas because in Ayurveda, we talk about the universe and all of us being made of 5 elements, which are earth, fire, water, ether, air, and space. I think I said those. And so as humans in Ayurveda, they kind of put us into little buckets loosely. So you've got 3 doshas. Okay. So you could be fire and water, space and air. You can be a combination of those. So that's what doshas are. Your dosha is your genetic blueprint for health, how you came into this world. What was your mother's health like? Were you the second? Were you the fourth? How's her stress level? What is your genetic DNA? So some people might be able to eat a really spicy burrito and be fine, and other people cannot touch spice. Or some, all of us are unique, and Ayurveda recognizes that. So the doshas are these, once you know your faults, as it were, it's like looking in the mirror. It's getting to know your imperfections perfectly. And one thing I love doing in Ayurveda is breaking it down to make it really digestible, because it is this really like quite heavy, a lot of food rules. People get overwhelmed with Ayurveda, which I think it's interesting. The way I spin it, and I did at the retreat, is breaking it down, making it very relatable, making it fun and joy, because looking after our body at the end of the day, so many people feel it's this chore. It's just like for women, especially, it's like, oh, it's just another thing to do, or they feel guilty. Like how many of us feel guilty? Oh my God, I didn't meditate today, or I didn't have time to work out, or I should be doing this, or I forgot. So instead of taking that energy, Temple Goddess was about actually looking after our health is celebrating ourselves, celebrating our uniqueness, celebrating our faults, and actually once we're self-aware and we know what those are, we can lean into them and we can have self-compassion for ourselves, which is very much what the dance is about too. It's as we dance, we would dance through the elements, fire, water, earth, air, realizing times we might need more grounded energy. Other times we might be stagnated. We might need to move our hips and get some intuition and abundance. So that's really what came out of because I can go on and on. So I'll sort of end it where the women had a great time. We had a great time. But what came out of it was now I have this, because I tried and tested it, this kind of formula that I'm doing now privately with clients that come to my place where they will uncover their dosha. So we'll do that. We might do it over a cooking class, which is really fun. Like there's nothing better than learning about food, right? I can sit and talk about it, or we could actually cook some together, and we could cook some that's good for you and nourishing for you, customized to you, so that the clients go away and they know how to recreate this curry now, right? They can make it for their friends. So I always feel like one thing leads to another, to another, to another. So
yeah. And what were the other 3 Ds?
Oh, the other 3 Ds. Dosha was number 1. The second one is digestion, baby, because in Ayurveda, it's very much like digestion doesn't just start in the mouth, baby, right? It starts way before, which is why we know when we're picking our food, even in the store, saliva, when we're picking, I'm going to have this for dinner. And so you can imagine when somebody's going to a restaurant and they're just getting that plate of food in front of them, the saliva is starting then. So imagine the digestive process starts a lot earlier if you cook your own food, if you source your own food. So Ayurveda, from a science standpoint, it's no longer about you are what you eat, it's you are what you digest. All right. And it's digesting emotions, it's digesting toxic relationships. There's so much we hold on to with digestion. So that's the second D. The third D is dinacharya, which is a word in Ayurveda or in Sanskrit that means daily rituals, baby.
I was going to ask you about that.
I just did a fertility workshop for women on dinacharya, and it was so fun. It was just a couple of days ago. But dinacharya is daily ritual. So what can you be doing on a daily basis for your dosha to keep your dosha in check? Because dosha, remember, life is not stagnant, right? So nature is changing. everything is changing. So it's very hard to keep on track is what I'm trying to say, right? So daily rituals and routine is what keeps you on track. And so that's really part of, what was your question, by the way? Sorry, you were going to ask a question.
Okay, well, I mean, my question was just about one ritual that you have every day that supports your dosha and just your way of being. I also had a question about rituals that you do with your kids around dinner, but let's hear what's one thing that you do to support your dosha?
Consistently.
Well, tell us what your full dinacharya is for the day. Yeah.
So it starts with going to bed at a good time, right? So that is the key to everything. Sleep.
What's a good time for you?
So according to Ayurveda as well, so there's a little janitor that comes and knocks on your door. So imagine let's just give a little scenario. The little janitor's coming and it goes, Dimity, are you in bed? And then Dimity's, guess what? She's up. She's watching Netflix. She's up watching a show.
She definitely is.
I was just coming to detox your liver and kidney. Oh, what a shame. I'll come back tomorrow. So next day, what happens? Watching another show. And so your body knows at certain times, because in Ayurveda, you're following the circadian rhythms of life. So on its simplest basis is like rising and falling with the sun, right? So going to bed at a decent hour, which is sweet spot is 10 o'clock. If you can get before then, greater. But listen, we're only humans over here. You know what I mean? Like, the other day, I think I stayed up till, I suffer though when I do stay up too late, but certain doshas are weaker than others, unfortunately. Others are night owls. There's a dosha, the kapha doshas over there, baby. They're like shaking their head.
Definitely not me.
But you will get a second wind because in Ayurveda, there's times of the clock. So you'll start going into, if you don't go to bed by 10, you get a second wind. And guess what? You can start, if you've ever noticed, you might start wanting to clean. You can start really going because you missed your window. If you miss your window, it's all over, baby. So just get to bed at a good time. But in the morning, what I will say is that for me, I need to start with a little bit of just quiet time. So getting up way before the kids, man, because that's like...
How early is that?
Well, brahmacharya time is so unrealistic for me, just so you know. So, but between 4:30 and 6 is the time, okay? I don't do 4:30. I'm aspiring to. I keep listening to these podcasts where women are doing all these crazy things. And I'm like, listen, we're all about balance over here. And nobody's striving. We're not getting medals for this. We're just going to do our best, right? So I try to get up around 6. I wouldn't say if I can get up early, I'd love to. It's just getting to bed and you know what I mean? So, and then trying to do some kind of quick, even if it's just quick meditation. I did work for the David Lynch Foundation for many years. So I've got transcendental meditation down, which is so helpful because I can just sit there and just do my mantra in the dark or whatever. And they say to do it when you wake up first thing, which in the morning for a woman is hard because you've got to-do lists, right? Everything's going. The first meditation of the day is usually just trying to get there. But it's fine because it's cumulative in meditation and it dissolves stress. So it doesn't matter. The main thing is you're just trying to do it, right? But then oral health is really big in Ayurveda. So tongue scraping. Yeah, baby.
Me too, every day. Love it.
Once you start seeing that white sticky substance on it, which again I went a lot into that. I showed a lot of video and made it really fun with the health. I really am very creative like that. But once you start seeing that white sticky stuff, that ama is undigested food in your stomach. And it's bacteria essentially that kind of sits. So in the morning it's going like this, and most people just drink coffee and you're like, wait, you just wash that all back down again. Like, hello. So definitely that oil pulling, if you can do too. So a little bit of coconut oil. You can even buy the ones, so a little bit of swishing. I actually go and swish. I take my chickens. I have to walk outside to my chicken coop, which is quite far. So I'll swish and do that and come back. And also just getting that light in your face. First thing, lemon water, pint of lemon water. I like lemon. You can just have whatever warm water, but flushing out the toxins. So that's kind of how I start my day. And then I'll have decaf tea or coffee because, again, I can't handle too much caffeine. I'm already, look at me now. And then imagine if I had caffeine. I don't need it.
What is your dosha, Nandini?
Vata pitta.
Are we too, Emma?
Yeah. I
but
think
more
that
pitta,
Nandini
right?
has more energy. No, I think we're more vata.
Oh, okay.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I I'd like to do you again. I think, Dimitri, we talked about that.
Yeah, we
because
did, and I can't
I get a
remember.
lot of tougher balancing energy from you.
Yeah, I know. Don't you love how we talk as a unit?
I do. I wonder, and you probably are the same, dosha.
Before we close out this episode, we want to make sure you know how much we love you and appreciate you listening. If this conversation made you think of someone in your life, we'd love it if you shared it with them. Send a text, a DM, however you share the things that inspire you. That's the best way to help spread these beautiful real-life stories from our incredible guests. We're really grateful for your support. Back to the episode.
Anyway, we could go on and on and on because I'm not going to go through the entire day because we'll be here a long time and I'm sure you have other questions. But a tip for families, I think you asked. I mean, with my kids as well, I mean, I try and teach them a lot about digestion as well. And I teach them a lot about the microbiome. And I try and make it really fun, by the way, so that they know that there's a green forest inside their belly and it will get like brown if they're just eating like candy all the time, and it'll get arid and dry. But I mean, for them, I also encourage them in all my Ayurvedic offerings. So like they both tongue straight, for example. They're not so a big fan on the oil pulling and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And then just eating. The biggest tip I could give anybody or any listener out there is to think about your digestive fire to correlate with the sun. Because behind your belly button, we call it Agni, which is your digestive fire. And so as the sun's coming up, imagine building a fire, because if we live upstate, we all build fires up here, mate. So in the morning, you just want to put kindling onto that fire, don't you? If you put a massive log on, like imagine you're having like eggs and bacon and pancakes and maple syrup and like, you know, we do have that sometimes, believe you me. But that is a lot for the digestive fire. So you're just going to you dampen your fire. It's not even going to be able to start, right? So a little bit of kindling in the morning, something light, something good, something yummy, something warming. And then as the sun comes up, what's happening between 12 and 2 is we've got the massive sun coming up. So this is when your digestive fire is roaring and burning and churning, and you can actually whack on a load of logs at that time, right? And what you've got to think about is that a lot of people are at work at that time. And so it's difficult, right? Because you're at work, you're sitting at your desk and there's eating in front of the desk, or like having a salad or this is in Ayurveda is the no-no, because what's happening is then later on in the day, if you look at the Western diet, is people are eating a massive meal in the evening. And guess what? They're then sitting in front of the TV. So they are overloading. Imagine those coals are going like this around 5, 6 o'clock, you know, to get those nice embers. And then somebody goes and whacks a big log on again. The digestion has to like start again, right? So it's like, what's happening? So eating near bedtime, eating too many big meals in the evening, having heavy food that's hard to digest, depending on your dosha type. If you can have your biggest meal at lunchtime, that would be the one I would recommend.
What about dealing with breakfast before school? One of my kids is never really hungry before she has to go to school, but there's a sense of you've got to eat so that you have power for the day.
Totally. I always say to them, break fast is breakfast. Break the fast. Your body needs to know you're awake so it can start doing something. So that means you've got to put something in. You know, my kids are the same. So kids are generally all kapha in Ayurveda when they're kids, because kids is the kapha energy. So there's also periods of life, like we're going into our Vata years, which is, so Pitta is up until 50. Well, some of us, obviously I'm 25, but you know, some of us may be going up to much, you know, so with kids, even my elder one, I try and do oatmeal. Now, one of them can do oatmeal. The other one thinks oatmeal is like, you know, bad. He just can't, like, if you try to give him, you know what I mean? So with him, I try and do an egg, or I'll try and do just something small, just even wrap it up and give it to him and say, to take it on the bus. With kids, you just got to do the best you can, you know what I mean? But yeah, the other one is really good. He'll eat oatmeal in the morning, which, you know, I put, again, cardamom, cinnamon, nutmeg, because we're going to get the digestive enzyme from all of that.
Right. I love spices, as we call them sprinkles. And sometimes I make spice blends that, like, I'll mix ground sesame seeds with different spices and herbs, and that's like a sprinkle on the table.
Yeah. That's like they do in Ayurveda. They actually have like different sprinkles for different doshas, so different things that you can put on. I like that.
I want to do some quick fire questions before we hop off. Okay, so I wrote a few down. Emma, if you have some, let me know as well. All right, so my first one, so don't think too much about these questions. All right, favorite spice?
Cumin. For digestion, it's the spice to go to, cumin.
All right, next question. What is your favorite song or type of music to dance to while you're cooking?
Cooking? Did you say while cooking?
While cooking. With the spoon in the air,
Wait, it's really weird, but on Spotify, you can do this your year and like it tells you. Have you done that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, it came up with a genre, which I was like, okay, neoclassical.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think I like old and new. So I like when songs, so I don't know if there's a favorite song, but neoclassical type music actually, or 80s.
Love 80s.
Love 80s. I'm an 80s girl.
Okay, well, that brings me to my next question, which usually this isn't a quick fire question I'd ask in relation to dinner, but when I think of you, I think of color. So what is your favorite color?
I think it has to be like that fuchsia pink that my husband was like, I bought a top the other day. He's like, what is that? I'm like, yeah, baby, it is me. Going to wear.
You always look amazing. So colorful and sparkly. I love it.
I know.
I'm wearing a colorful sweater for you today, actually.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't have time. I
know you're wearing black.
Yep.
Last question. What's your favorite luxury travel trip you've ever taken?
Oh, well, I went to Provence and I love south of France. I love the Luberon Valley. I mean, food, hello. We're talking about, Mauritius has such a big French culture because it was ruled by France for so long. So I think just going there, I stayed in the most awesome chateau. I did cooking classes. I visited all the vineyards. I cycled everywhere so I could eat more. That was the goal.
Sounds amazing.
Amazing. It was brilliant.
Calories in and out. Well, thank you so much, Nandini. We're going to cook together soon. We'll make a plan. This has been so fun.
This has been so fun. I feel like we just needed nibbles. We could just be nibbling and drinking at the same time.
Well,
next
time we'll do that.
Yeah.
We'll make some tea. Yes, for sure.
Totally. Well, thank you, ladies.
Thank you,
it's a pleasure. I really had.
Thank you. Before you go, I just wanted to say one more time, thank you so much for listening to Dinner Last Night. Feeding our families isn't always easy, but dinner is almost always a story worth sharing and a meal that connects us all. Dinner Last Night is co-produced by us, Emma Frisch and Dimity Palmer-Smith, your twin hosts behind the show. And the episodes in Season 2 are edited by Stuart Hetzler. The theme song We Can't Stop Dancing To is written by Emerson Longstory Bartlett, featuring Drew Martin on saxophone, and yes, that's a chorus of our kids you hear singing along. To get all the juicy extra bits that accompany each episode, like recipes and giveaways, you can subscribe to our newsletter at dinnerlastnightpod.com. And every episode includes a special giveaway, which you can enter through the link in the show notes or by heading to bit.ly/DLN giveaway. That's DLN giveaway, all in lowercase. You can also follow us on Instagram at dinnerlastnightpod for guest highlights, micro street interviews where we buck up and ask strangers what they had for dinner last night, dinner time inspiration, and cheesy twin moments. From our table to yours, thank you so much for being part of this journey, and thank you for listening.
What'd you have for dinner last night? For your daughters and your sons versus where you come from. What'd you have for dinner last night? How many meals can you make in your mind? What'd you have for dinner last night? You got some tips for saving some time? What'd you have for dinner last night? Dinner last night. I know you better if I know your recipe. Think we're in this together, 'cause we all gotta eat.